Welcome back to Couch Potato, folks. I'm Sean Holscher, ready to talk to you again about the good, the bad, and the ugly of television. We waited 7 long months to figure out who Negan killed at the end of the Season 6 finale of The Walking Dead. Now, last night, that wait is finally over. We know who Negan has killed, and we're going to discuss it tonight. Before we get started and get too far into this discussion, I'd just like to let you know that we are going to be treading into spoiler territory. So if you didn't watch the Season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead last night, and if you haven't watched it yet today, I suggest that you watch this once you're done, because we are going to be getting into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's talk about the Season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead. In the comic books, Negan was the leader of the Saviors, who were pretty much the zombie apocalypse mafia. They protected groups from zombies, but you had to give up half of your food and medical supplies and any other things that the Saviors thought would help you. If you didn't pay up, you met Lucille, Negan's barbed wire-wrapped baseball bat. Rick's group comes at odds with Negan and his Saviors, leading to a massive fight. After last season's finale and Season 7's premiere yesterday, it seems like we'll be getting a fairly faithful adaptation of these villains, Negan in particular. The entire episode hinged on who Negan's victim would be, so much so that we didn't find out who it was until the middle of the episode. We rewatched the iconic eeny, meeny, miny, mo scene, and the person who was it turned out to be Abraham. That surprised me a little, since Negan talked about how taking it like a champ was such a big deal to him. I figured out of anyone, he'd think the biggest guy in the entire group would be able to take a hit like that like a champ. But okay, Adrian got Lucilled. Just when you think it's over, Daryl pops up and punches Negan right in the face. At this point, I was very scared for Daryl's life, and I thought maybe Negan was going to kill him next. Negan kept going on and on about how an action like Daryl's won't be permitted. But Negan didn't kill Daryl. He had his men put him back into one of their vehicles. Making no mistake, by the end of this episode, Daryl is still very much alive. So his passionate fans won't riot. Yet. But alas, there was a second death last night. And the next person who got Lucilled after Daryl was taken away by the other Saviors was Glenn. Now, in the comic books, Glenn was the only victim of Negan, and the show kind of differs from the comic book, as there were 2 victims of Negan the night Rick met the Saviors for the first time. While Abraham's death caught me by surprise, Glenn's death kind of came off like a cheat. Season 6 spent so much time playing a guessing game with its audience about when Glenn would die, if at all. I would even go as far as to say the show kind of jumped the shark a bit with the whole Glenn-Nicholas dumpster incident from last season. When Glenn died in the comics, there was a massive emotional payoff to it. Here, it just felt like a cheat, and any emotional payoff Glenn's death should have conjured was lost due to the last season's antics. But I'm sure comic book purists were happy. With Abraham and Glenn dead and Daryl captured, what else could Rick's group endure? The answer is quite a bit. Negan believed Rick doesn't understand how serious he is, and he nearly forces Rick to cut off his son's arm with his own hatchet. Now, in a strange way, this would have mirrored the comic book. In the comics, Carl doesn't lose an arm, but Rick loses his hand. And it's not Negan that cuts off Rick's hand, but it was the governor that does it. The governor in the comics is a lot more vicious than his TV counterpart. Not only does the governor cut off Rick's hand in the comic, but he also repeatedly rapes Michonne, and in the final assault on the prison, the governor kills at least half of Rick's group, including baby Judith. All episode long last night, there was a huge emphasis on Negan playing with Rick's hatchet, and I thought for sure Negan was going to cut off Rick's hand at some point, but that didn't happen. Also, Carl ended up not losing an arm either. Negan makes Rick stop right before the cut, but the audience gets the haunting idea that Rick's group now belongs to Negan. The part of the episode that made me choke up the most, though, wasn't the deaths of Abraham or Glenn, but how the group comes back together again after the Saviors leave. If The Walking Dead was merely a show of survivors ducking and covering from zombies, series, it wouldn't have lasted for 7 seasons. It's the human moments that make all the difference and make this show a classic. Our discussions on this show are far from over, and I think that we are in for a very exciting 7th season of The Walking Dead. Thank you very much for watching tonight. Again, I'm Sean Holscher, and if you like my coverage on TV, I also run a movie blog. You can find it at www.bloggersean89.blogspot.com for all the latest movie news, movie reviews, and everything in between. Thank you very much for watching.